Hi, everybody. Welcome to a poetry reading with uh, 6 poets from all over the world. I think it's fair to say that this is a one-of-a-kind event. You're not going to come across this very often, but the Bangalore Literature Festival does specialize in this kind of unique poetic confluence. We're going to start with Kazim Ali, who is, to put it very concisely, a wanderer, a seeker, a strange phenomenon, astrologically improbable, fantastically fiery, as in a fire sign, perturbed politically, and as you can see, a sexy beast. Ladies and gentlemen, Kazim Ali.
Hello, everyone. Good to be with you here today. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? I'm going to read you 7 little short poems. My mother passed away in May of 2023, and these poems are among, I didn't write for about a year and a half or 2 years after that happened, and these are some of the poems I wrote, the first poems I wrote after that happened. Thank you. This poem is called New York State Thruway. That's the highway that runs across the state of New York. So late to wake, the clouds are blue and the sky is white. I try to make up time on the drive. Storms already here, but not yet breaking. I lie down on your grave. Everything is smaller. All time is made up. I am a child again, now in the new life. Everyone says the Finger Lakes will be so pretty in the fall, but each morning I have to drag myself across the serrated edge of your absence into whatever ordinary September day it is supposed to be. This poem is called Sandwich. I think one of the ways I dealt with grief was going into the very ordinary, actually. I wanted to go to the qabristan with a sandwich and have a picnic at your grave, how people do, instead of just going and saying prayers. But it rained hard and I had to run for the car. Why do people run for the car? What do we think is going to happen? It is not as if when we get wet, we are going to die, although we are all going to die. Sometimes when I go to the qabristan, I lose my place, and for a moment, I cannot find your grave. And just for an instant, it feels like you are not dead. You are not dead. I went up to Banff Art Center, which is in the mountains of Alberta, and so I became interested in, everyone climbs mountains there, so this poem is about mountain climbing. It's called Green Boots. Green Boots. A man lies on his side in the snow, curled up a little as if he's sleeping. No one knows his name. He tried to climb Mount Everest, and maybe he made it up and died on the way down, or maybe he never made it up. Sagar Mata, the mountain, is called in Nepali Sanskrit, Mother of the Sky, though Sagar means sea in classical Sanskrit. I wear bare-shouldered shirts and flashy boots, so you will be in no doubt of my name when I die. My first name is not my first name, and my last name is not my last name. Green Boots is one of about 200 people buried on the slopes of the sea of the Mother of Blue. Please don't leave me. Come find me. Tell everyone my names. This poem, thank you. Thank you. This poem is called Aries. I am an Aries. Inside the boy was always a creature on fire, torn apart at the seams. He was always chewing up the scenery of the family's tidy life, always it in the games of tag or hide and seek, always relentlessly chasing God. He was always the first one through the door, told his whole life that he's too much and to settle down. He gets everything wrong. He always gets there in the nick of crime. He has got his eyes on the lies. He always crosses the shame river twice. You don't need to douse the flames. He is committed to the task of living his life on fire. Said another way, he is burning alive. Okay. This poem has a lot of American pop culture in it. So you just have to go on Wikipedia and look up the 1980s soap opera Dynasty later on, so you can get all of the references. Unless you've watched Dynasty, then you understand. It's called Queer History. Wearing a white shirt 2 days in a row meant you were gay. Having one of those little tags on the back of your shirt meant you were gay. If you wore blue socks with white sneakers, that meant you were gay. Looking at Tony Shea for too long in the locker room while he was changing meant you were gay, even though when Tony caught you looking and called you fag, someone else defended you by calling him fag because Tony was wearing blue socks with white sneakers. You were not gay. When Tim asked you to kiss him and you said yes, and then you did, that did not make you gay. You were not gay, you were like Prince. Nobody knew what Prince was. Or maybe you were like Stephen Carrington, who even after he fell in love with Ted Denard, met and fell in love with Claudia and then married her. Poor Stephen. Even though nobody knew it in the 80s, it was really Claudia who was the most interesting character on Dynasty. She wasn't rich, she was shy and fragile, and had spent time in a mental hospital, and while Alexis and Dominique swanned around in expensive dresses with big shoulder pads, while Alexis and Dominique swanned around in expensive dresses with big shoulder pads, Claudia worked as a waitress in a diner. Later, when the producers of the show finally allowed Stephen to be gay again, and he got together with Luke Fuller and then Bart Falmont after Luke was gunned down at the Moldavian wedding, Claudia got a blowout and expensive dresses with shoulder pads, and married, then divorced Stephen's brother, Adam, then took over his sister Fallon's hotel, finally burning it down in a fit of rage and jealousy, perishing in the conflagration. I mean, how gay is that? Thank you.
I forgot to say that we have a 6-minute kind of deadline for each poet, and I forgot to mention that we've rigged up the microphones so that if you go over 6 minutes, it administers a mild shock, and then the shock gets stronger, progressively more horrific as you... Anyway, next poet is Suchi. She's a naturalist, a photographer, a nature guide. She takes people for walks every weekend around Cubbon Park, and if you ask nicely, she might even tell you a poem while she's doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, Suchi.
Everyone, it's my first time on this stage, so I'm really thrilled to be up here. My first poem is called Of Blood and War. Of blood and war. The first time it happens, you are barely 12. So much blood must mean either wound or war. So you run to your mother and ask if you are dying. This is not death, she says. This is existence. Just the basic bloodshed of being woman. There will be a celebration next week, she says, with silks and jaggery, turmeric and gold. But don't be swayed by such fleeting love. The real gift is an unwritten book, stitched with rope, bound with tradition, its pages ornate, and yet so sharp with rules, they only slice the fingers of women. Because you are a child, you take this gift, and you come to believe in the unquestioning dark. The flowers that will wilt, the milk that will spoil, the men and other fragile beings that will take ill. Everything, she says, that can be defiled by you. Last April, you helped your aunt make mango pickles. This month, even your touch will spoil them. All that careful soaking in brine and spice, all that aging in the home's coldest corners, where you will sit now for days every month, muffling the many mouths of your pain. You cannot go to temples now, says your mother. You cannot worship the goddess that I named you after. You are still a child, she says, but you are enough, woman. You are still a child, but you're already too much woman for anyone to bear, not the men, not the priests. They must pray to save all their gods from you. My next poem is called Current Affairs. My teacher told me my poems should be more current, should celebrate things in the news, like the breaking of sports records, like the eradication of disease, new machines in our libraries, or how a child just 6 years old sang like he was born of birds. Don't just write about flowers, he said, or philosophy, or these clouds of unrequited love that billow about your youth. Until we broke the mosque, I did not follow his advice. Until then, nothing in the world had touched my cocoon life. I had touched nothing in the world. But now I felt like it was my chariot wheels that crayoned dried blood into the tar. I watched my parents turn to wolves at orange moons, waving their fists at a box they could not turn off. But when I went to my teacher, my words now a raw torment, my pen now moving hard enough to leave brown bruises on the page behind. At last I thought, this is a poem he would praise, but he grew narrow and cold. In a play the previous year, he had painted my face blue, draped me in shawls of gold and green. I had broken a bow for him. Now he whispered mantrams to protect his gods, and he flung my poem back and told me to stick to love and clouds and flowers, something that would dissolve and disperse easily, something that would not leave marks even on the back of a page. The next poem is called This Book Has Been Stolen. This book has been stolen from RK School Library. This is the stamp on it. You may have borrowed it, but if it lies elsewhere or in your home, you are a thief. Return it immediately to RK School Library. There will be a penalty, and you must write 100 times that you will respect books. All books must take only 7 days to be read. Do not be late. Do not linger on a sentence. Add no speech bubbles in the margins. Do not highlight lines that knocked off your soul. Do not ever fold a corner. There is a sheet with readers' names, those who came before you but left no mark on the pages like you are now tempted to. The list may grow longer, but still the book must stay fresh like it has never been held before by human hands. Of course, we know the way of time, and we accept some wear and tear. Between the lines, we might find insects. Silverfish might disrupt story arcs. Hyphens may walk out between words and meanings. But whenever the paper remembers it was once a tree, it will crack at a page that was always turned back to. Small puncture marks will start to show up. Education standards and teachers will start to grow lax. And finally, at the end, when a person, maybe not like you, when a person tears out the last page, the one with the surprise ending, the story will fall to ground, a forest free of all bindings. I haven't got a shot yet, so I think I have time for one more. So my last poem is called Before They Taught Me About Beauty. Before they taught me about beauty, I loved my mother's cracked heels, and I admired the texture and mystery that came from walking through the world. And then when my party lived with us, she showed me how she could move the swollen veins on her hands. I wished for her crepe paper skin, her cheeks now hung by her chin. And before they taught me about beauty, I liked how my aunt's eyes had lines creased to hold exactly 3 lines of kajal, and how sometimes below her eyes a swollen half moon would set gently, like it set under my uncle's eyes too. Before they taught me so much about beauty, I saw how my mother's friends wore colors that matched their wit and their kindness. And as they hugged me, I knew them by the feel of their bellies and their arms, some lighter, some softer, some stronger. And I never thought one should look like the other, the way they taught me later. Before they taught me about beauty, I used to see so much of it everywhere. Thank you.
Pretty amazing for a first reading. Suchi Govindarajan. Thank you. Next up, we have Shikha Malaviya. She lives in San Francisco, so don't say things about the homeless in San Francisco and, about the quality of Indian restaurants in San Francisco. She's going to defend her city fearlessly. Her most recent book is Anandibai Joshi. It's Life and Poems. She's a poet, an author, and a publisher as well. She has 2 kids, 29 and 24, and she's a dog mom. Ladies and gentlemen, Shikha Malaviya.
Thank you so much, Jeet. I just also want you to know I've lived in Bangalore for 7 years, and so Bangalore is like a second home to me as well. So I will also defend Bangalore when need be. But so my second book was Anandibai Joshi, A Life in Poems, which is a biography written poetry of India's first female medical doctor. And I read some poems earlier this morning from the book. So right now, I'm actually going to be sharing work from some forthcoming work, hopefully, from a new manuscript called Motherland, Otherland. So this poem is called The Mean Woman, and mean as in fish. The mean woman, not a mean woman, but one who is all mean and akshi, glass fish eyes that see everything, whose hands are all scale, fins, and guts, as she sits on her haunches in front of her basket, a thimble of today's ocean spread out, tails up. Her polyester sari is printed palm fronds pleated with the scent of salt sand and the day's humidity. Don't let the rope of jasmine pinned to her hair fool you. One whiff of her drags you to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and to stand next to her means interoceanic travel, hanging onto a sperm whale's tail. The mean woman smiles, a mouthful of shark teeth stained with the blood of areca nut, wrapping today's catch in day-old newspaper, your money tucked between her breasts, as you wonder how it might feel to touch her, the ache like a fishbone caught in your throat. And the next poem, I apologize, I'm reading from my phone. I didn't have access to a printer today. And so the next poem I'm going to read is called Holy Cow Sonnet. If Our Lady of the Holy Bovine Order could speak, she would say, India, you've lost your way. She would say, where is our Satyamev Jayate? She'd lie on her side and offer all four teats, give the skin off her back with a side of beef. Go Mata ki Jai, praise the cow that leads us astray. Come out, all zealots, and play. Which type of meat did the Mussulman eat? Drag the sinner by his leather-clad feet and beat him till his last breath escapes. Become the world's largest exporter of beef, yet ban it within your own states. Suspicion of eating steak now trumps rape. The holy cow watches quietly and weeps. And let's see. And please tell me when my time is up, okay? Yeah, I'm bad at tracking time. And wait, let me get down here. Lunch, okay, this poem I wrote inspired by the Bombay poets of old. So if you hear this, you probably will know who I'm talking about. Lunch with a Bombay poet. Our meal is 2 cups of kadak chai, bun muska, and an ashtray full of cigarette butts. There's a statue of King Edward's Kala Ghoda outside, spying on us. We are masticating, no silly, not masturbating, although we do that with words as well. Line by line, stanza by stanza. For dessert, we devour a crumbly cake of metaphors and lemon curd, a recipe stolen from the British Raj. And you say, Kya choro se chori karna chori hai? Jai Hind. Like cows, pets have 4 stomachs, you tell me. Poets have 4 stomachs, you tell me. We digest things differently. Your mustache needs trimming. It covers your upper lip like a lopsided curtain before descending to hug your chin. I wish I had a pair of scissors, but all I have is a pen, which I suck on when I am nervous. And now my tongue is blue, Neeli Zuban, a few shades away from the proverbial black. Maybe you won't notice everything, like I do your withered hands, in which blank paper, ever the supplicant, grows wings and takes flight. Thank you. And do you have time for one more poem? Okay. I want to try and get to my ghazal on, I've written a ghazal on Gaza. So if I can just find it. Come back here. I will, sorry to make you all wait. It's at the end. Okay. Sorry I did not print this. I really apologize. Here we go. Paper boats, a Gaza ghazal. There will be no love letters tonight in your city. Only gauze flapping like ghosts tonight in your city. In a house with no roof and cracked windows, you read Darvish while sipping tears tonight in your city. Stars shine with abandon, as if nothing has happened. Please kiss all the children goodnight who remain in your city. No silver bells, only mortar shells. The roads are long and hungry tonight in your city. Tearing squares of paper from discarded textbooks, they make paper boats and set sail tonight in your city. I kneel in prayer, hands turned towards the sky, wondering if God is there tonight in your city. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shikha. Love the ghazal especially. Always a sucker for form. Next we have Mani Rao, and I don't think she needs much introduction to a Bangalore audience. She's the author of innumerable books, slim and not so slim, of poems. She is experimental, supramental, incremental, sensual, spiritual. Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
Mani Rao.
Thanks, Jeet. The first two poems are a pair. This marriage. It's not too cold, I know. But I had nowhere else to keep this overcoat. All my suitcases were full and my closet overcrowded. So I just let it sit upon my shoulders. That marriage. A haunted house afraid to die, echoes fold. Should the poem end there? The happy prince returns on the radio. Swallow, little swallow, will you not stay with me one night longer? Thank you. The next poem is called Fusion 2024. It was written on the occasion of Diwali and Halloween coming together on the same day in 2024. When the goddess of fortune rang our doorbell, she was taller than we had known. Her tiara tore the cobweb nest and spiders on the mantel fell. Into the hot oil of lamps, splattering the floral floor art, awaiting witches on brooms and bugs in boots this Halloween. Upon our lotus cushion she took her place, granted every trickster their treat. Her pet owl hooted, "Who's who?" at home, in heaven and hell, this Diwali, this Halloween. So the next poem is called War. It is about war. It is also about coffee and tea. Coffee drinkers find tea pointless, not much more than a hot water hobby. Tea drinkers find coffee bitter, like the emperor has new clothes story. Tea people note how coffee people can talk, Guatemala to Colombia, Egypt to Ethiopia. Coffee people think tea people fake culture, accents, and even taste buds. Was coffee smuggled to India in the beard of a pirate? Tea invented so Chinese monks could stay awake to meditate? Then it was Darjeeling tea versus coffee from Ooty. Now it's Tulsi, ginger, cardamom, matcha versus buttermilk soaked turmeric ashwagandha latte. There is a vacancy for a referee, but everyone's enlisted. Coffee or tea? And the next poem is called Safe. When I tell my mother I'm going someplace, she warns me of crocodiles that look like logs, mountain lions behind rocks, lonely roads and rakes, tall grass, irate snakes. One must never enter caves or go to the restroom in large malls solo. She speaks without word breaks. No wonder I am so fearless. All the panic safe with her. Okay. So this poem was inspired by the thought that love is blind, which is why we stare at each other when we're in love. Eyes are emissaries, soft knocks, nibs. Eyes are tongues, mad riverbeds, insomniac for salt. Eyes are fangs, bare chisel, tattooing face on retina. Bite this word, lick that wound. Eyes are the itineraries of shooting stars on the tail of new disasters, faster than witnesses, slow as alibis. Don't look! Phoenix of mirages, illusions, holy ash, rising mohair suit, darkness caving into black diamonds, lashes fan the air between.
Stones drown to measure water of expression, water nothing dissolves in, pure staring child, soft convex pillows, seed of sleep, a false door revolves, a roulette swings back to starting position, the masochists bring out exographs, unfurling clitoris, descriptions insatiable, eyes are braille. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mani. Next up, James Shea, like the butter. James is a poet, teacher. He's a BA in philosophy, teaching now in Hong Kong, of all places on earth. That should make for an interesting book one day. And also, he's a dosa lover, and yeah. Someone recommended koshis, and I think we can do better than that. So maybe a bit later, step up and give him your real recommendations for brilliant Bangalore dosa. Ladies and gentlemen, James Shea.
Thank you, Jeet, and thank you all for coming. I'm going to read a few poems from this collection. Came out this year. It's called Last Day of My Face. Wake. Shirt came to mourn my chest, shoes the arches of my feet, cufflinks my wrists, hat my head, socks my toes, and buttons my fingers. Tie came to mourn the nape of my neck, belt my waist, jacket my shoulders, glasses my temples and bridge of my nose. Underwear came and cried at the casket. Underwear, who knew me best. It's called Voyage. Whenever I watch a black and white film, I think of how all the extras are dead. I don't think about the stars this way. They are larger than life on the screen, shown in close-up, best lit, the film a testament to their afterlife. But those extras sadden me with their walk-ons, cameos of the unknown. They still exist in some manner here before me, but in the brevity of their appearance, they are vigorously alive and gone. A vitality at doing nothing in particular, not drawing too much attention, quickly cast aside. That's who I am off camera, were the director to pan suddenly to me on my couch. Missed more than the stars, for they have no lines, no special directions, just told to act naturally without words. Some of these poems did come out of my time living in Hong Kong, and I'll read one. It's called Soft Tank. I dub everything in my own voice. My mouth never matches perfectly with what I am saying. I'm sorry. Life can be lifelike if you like life. The winner in the winner's circle is always the circle itself. Can't see that star in the sky? It's like someone left a flashlight on in the bottom drawer. Last night, it rained inside a mall. There's very little crime here, but there could be a war. I'll read two more. This is called, well, we all have a favorite word, maybe more than one. One of my favorite words is that, and that is what this poem is about. It's called That's That. Certain words I dislike. Ooze, lozenge. Other words I love. Katie did, bumblebee. Take that, for instance. How it comes fat from the mouth. nowhere to elide it, massage it. It's a pronoun, that's what I like. A conjunction, that I might love. An adverb, that much. An adjective, that word sounds like what it stands for, isness. This is quieter, less of a claim. I defer to the sure sense of things. That's how I approach catastrophe. This morning, where I was on a panel, we're talking about the difference between song and sound. I'll just read this poem that I could have read this morning easily, but I'll read it for you now. It's called Motion. Sometimes when a tram passenger looks out the window, a companion places a hand on her shoulder. The bell dings at the stop. No one gets off and wind enters every window of the carriage. Scaffolding sways around an office building. With her hair tied back, the passenger looks down at her lap. The companion says something brief in his language. He has never seen a film that did not contain sound. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, James. Your reading reminds me of John Ashbery, who also had a knack for saying poems that had great punchlines, and like yours, and sometimes felt like extended jokes, but told in such elevated language and so straight-faced that they become poetry. Thank you so much. We're down to 15 minutes, which is really pretty disciplined for poets. I'm going to start with a poem called Self-Portrait as Found Stock Market Headlines. The market is having trouble focusing on issues that could give it direction. The market is looking for a level to consolidate on its way down. Market feels first shivers in shake-up, claws back. Stocks shrug off weak bonds and bearish futures to close higher in choppy trade. Market trembles, reverberations expected. Market drops like a brick through impasse at its heart. Prices go into free fall, end up in the subway. Stocks close low in gloomy, sluggish trade as persistent pressure stifles weak attempts at a rebound. Stocks fall off a cliff. Day opens in a vacuum of sentiment. The market is very nervous. It lacks direction. In the afternoon, it nosedived with a vengeance. Just how high can a dead cat bounce? These were all actual headlines from the stock market crash in Hong Kong in 1975, thereabouts. This is called Dear Nod. Setting up my tripod, meticulous, not slipshod, looking for the one nod, letting go the old guard, not boasting about some iPod, cash kills some short bod, yeah, no. The son of Cush, the land of Nod, Noah's great-grandson, Nimrod. I'm saying I need your help, Lord. I need the staff, I need the rod. Without, I'm just an odd sod, stumbling with the odd squad, feeling like a flawed fraud, seeing the flaming sword, tasting the freeze thawed, served up like a lost chord, saved from the botbod, tried the book's good word, looked for help from Rambod. Nothing works, I'm slack-jawed, first in line for no reward. I didn't aspire to dope, Lord, uninspired on the low road, on fire, so help me God. Thank you. Thank you. To return your guzzle, this is called stress test guzzle. Where are you tonight, spilling your 1,000 tears? Here, where you are not, each night's 1,000 years. The future's here too soon, louder than we wanted, exaggerating each midnight's 1,000 arrears. Is that you I hear, out there and coming closer, crashing through the rooms of 1,000 mirrors? Or in the lobby of some forgotten Motel 8, shorting the vending machines for 1,000 Oreos? Or down the lost highway, your old car humming, white lines spun gold as you flip 1,000 gears? Or wandering the most ravenous part of town, hunting for the ghost of 1,000 fears? Jeet, I hear you say, you'll never find me, not even if you look among 10,000 deers. I'll end with a poem called, it's the easiest poem to perform, as you'll see in a minute. It's called The Advantages and Supreme Pleasures of Growing Old. Thank you very much. Thank you to these amazing poets. If you have questions, now is the time.
When we write poems, we have a lot of pressure on finding rhymes. So rhyming kills most of the joy in framing a poetry. So I'm not sure if you ever faced this issue with rhyming. So I just want your views on rhyming in the poem.
Hello. The rhyme is the rhyme in sound and thought. It's the way the lines themselves arrange themselves. I keep thinking, if you were in my panel earlier today at 11 in the same place, I talked about, we were talking about poetry. We were talking about God, actually, and I think you can talk about poetry the same way. And it was last night that Dr. G and Davi made a metaphor when he was talking about the differences between languages and dialects. And he said that language is a river, but the actual structure of the language, the standard version of the language, the correct language, were the banks of the river, and the water that flowed were the dialects that flowed, that the dialects were alive, that language itself was alive. And so I think of, and so earlier in the panel, I borrowed his metaphor to talk about God, but now I borrow it to talk about form, rhyme and meter and any type of poetic form. They become the banks which holds the river. Because if you don't have banks, then the river just floods everything and you can't experience the river because it's gone. If there's banks and the river is held and it flows, it can create electricity, you can swim in it, the fish can live there, So that's what I think of rhyme and form in poetry. It gives shape to the endless energy inside.
Also, there's a reason why the sonnet, for example, has lasted 500 years. There's a reason why the ghazal has lasted so many hundreds of years. There's a reason why form has lasted as long as we've had poetic language, and that poets keep returning to it. In my opinion, it makes writing easier. When you have structure and you know that it's an A-B rhyme scheme for the first stanza, say, you know what the rhyme has to be for the following lines once you come up with the first two. It just makes it much easier, actually, to write a poem. Even though it's contraindicative, you might think that it'll be more difficult because of form. It is actually the opposite.
Hi. Just taking off from that question, what's your favorite form? I'd like to ask everyone on the panel right now. What's the favorite form of poem you have which you like to write?
I think that's a really hard question to answer, but one of my favorite poems is One Art. One of my favorite poems, One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. It's a fantastic poem. It isn't in form, but it says so much, and the rhythm of it, the beauty of it, what she's trying to say. Look it up if you haven't read it. One Art. Huh? No, I don't think it's a villanelle, but is it a villanelle? Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember the form. I guess it is a villanelle, but it's a fantastic poem. One of my favorites. Also, The Filling Station by Elizabeth Bishop. I love that poem as well. But there are many, many, many. I think it's an unfair question for a poet.
I would quote, at the risk of angering many poets on stage and in the audience, I might quote Robert Frost, who said, "Writing free verse is like playing tennis without a net."
And then I forget who the poet was who responded, but it was a woman poet who said, maybe you don't want to play tennis on the tennis court, you want to turn it into a dance floor. I think probably my favorite form is the ghazal, honestly, because there's so much in it, and the sonnet also holds a special place in my heart. But certainly I think the best book in poetic form, two of the best books in poetic form, I'll cite two to you. One is Mosquito and Ant by a Japanese-American writer named Kimiko Han, in which she pioneers the classical Japanese form of the zuihitsu and kind of adapts it into English. And the other you may know is called The Country Without a Post Office by the Kashmiri poet Agashad Ali. Yeah.
Just wanted to mention that one of my favorite ghazals is English, is your poem, Malayalam's ghazal.
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
that.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, so I started writing poems in school, so I've been writing since the past 12 years. I probably have like 500 plus poems, but when it comes to publishing, I've published in anthologies, but not an anthology of my own. And like, how do you pick and choose what poem do you want in your, like whatever you're publishing, whether it be an anthology or, like a standalone piece or something?
Good question.
So I don't have a book out yet. I've been published in a few anthologies. I've published in a few magazines. I think it's important to understand what you are trying to achieve when you put out a poem to the world, and to understand the kind of poets you're with, and to see what you look like when you're amongst them, when your work is amongst them. It's out in the world. Who will read it? Where will they read it? Are they reading online? Are they buying a book? I think asking yourself those questions will give you a path.
We have time for one more question. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my question is for Suchi. Jeet mentioned that you do walks in Kaban Park and all. So how do those walks inspire your poetry, and do thoughts versus form while you are doing those walks? I wanted to know that. How does Kaban Park inspire your poetry?
Thank you. So I don't know if there's any direct line between being outdoors and being in nature and writing, but I will say, I think someone said a poem, songs are in conversation with silence, and you can say that about poems too. It's a play between words and rhythm and silence. And being out in nature allows you, even in a city like Bangalore, to access that silence for yourself, to get lost in things, to look at the barks of a tree and the bark of a tree and look for an insect. I could spend half an hour doing that. So.
Wonderful.
I think we could take half a question. Anybody? Yeah.
Hi everyone. This is question for everyone. So, in a debate of prose versus poetry, which do you think has the ability to talk about much more deeper, complex topics?
I think you just answered your own question. Between poetry and prose, which can take on deeper, more complex questions? I mean, you're asking poets. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thank you to these great poets on stage, and thank you to BLF. See you next year.